You got the job. It's your first day at work. I know you're nervous. What do you do now? We're going to talk about some things to prepare you so you'll be successful in that job. Probably one of the most nerve-wracking times for people other than interviewing is that first day of work. Your first day is your most important day. This is the impression you're going to leave on these people that you're going to work with for a long, long time. Hopefully you're fortunate and you get a company that onboards well, that's very organized. You know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, what your job is, who you report to, where the bathroom is, what the parking regulations are, what the dress code is. Where do you go in your building for breaks? You know, all the little stuff that people fail to ask in the interview. Like, I'll figure it out once I'm there. Depending on the size of your company and how organized they are, you'll either have a really good onboarding or you'll have pretty awful onboarding experience. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the wrong company for you. Some companies are great at bringing people in. Maybe they've given you a booklet of common things that are asked the first week. You know who you report to. You know what your job description is. You know when you're going to be reviewed. Other companies may not tell you that, and you've got to kind of pull the information from them in a gentle, kind, and politically correct way, that it doesn't look like, well, this person's making waves already and they just started and this is their first day. We're going to go over a little bit of how to handle that from a good onboarding experience and from a bad onboarding experience. Hey, some tips. Some might be a little bit controversial, but follow these tips. And I'm telling you, you're going to be successful in your job. Overdress the first day. Overdress the first week. Until somebody tells you, we don't really dress like that here. We're a little bit more casual. You would rather have that conversation than someone saying, you're coming in a little casual. We dress a little more professional here. That's a hard conversation to have with a new employee. As they say in all the books, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Make sure that your nails are trimmed. Make sure that you've gargled with Listerine. You're going to be going around and you're going to be meeting people. You're going to be shaking hands with a lot of people. The last thing you want them is to go, wow, he's got some really serious bad breath. Don't chew gum, anything like that. Don't smoke a cigarette before you go in if you're nervous. Maybe pop a mint or something. You're going to be probably meeting a lot of people on your first day or going to an orientation. You want to make sure that your breath is clean, that your hair is combed, that you look professional, your shoes are shined, everything's looking good. Some of these people you may not see depending on the size of the company I've been in companies as large as 80,000 people. You may not see these people again for another couple of years, but they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember Mel Rapley. I met him at orientation. Nice guy, was dressed in a dark suit, real red tie, very professional looking guy. Yeah, I know him. Met me one time. That was their impression of me. A year later, that's what they remembered of me, was that first time they met me at orientation. So overdress, and if they say, well, just bring it down a couple of notches, that's good. That's good. You want that. The other thing, too, is make a list of stuff that's important to you. I had a young lady that had Crohn's disease. She had to know where the bathroom was. It was very important to her. If anybody's familiar with Crohn's disease, you don't have very much of a starting shot of doing what you gotta do. She needed to be near a bathroom. She didn't know where the bathrooms were. That was important to her. The other one needed to know on the parking lot, where do they park? How do they park? The other person wanted to know when lunches were because her kids were in daycare and she could only call her kids at a certain time. She needed to find out when those breaks and those lunches were so she could call and check on her kids. Things like that. Not all companies. Now I do that. I do a booklet that I give the employees, and it's called First Week at Work. And it says, this is who you report to. This is when your review is. These are where the bathrooms are. This is where the lunchroom is. I was with a company, it was a credit union. You were not allowed to leave the corporate office to go out to eat unless you were with one of the senior executives, either the senior VP or the president. You had to eat in the cafeteria. They had a big cafeteria, nice cafeteria. You were not to leave the property. Now, a lot of people didn't know that rule because it was never written down anywhere. It was one of those unsaid rules. And I had an orientation class and a bunch of them left. One person was like, oh, no, that's a bad thing. They cannot leave the building. That's why we have this cafeteria that we've paid all this money for. So make sure you find out, can you leave the building? How long can you leave the building for? The last thing you want to do is on your first couple of days of work, is you go out to grab something to eat and you get, say, 60 minutes, and that's 60 minutes travel time and back, and you're 90 minutes, you're already 30 minutes late coming back. I've seen it happen with people saying, gee, I just didn't know the traffic flow here or whatnot. Find out. Ask people. Also, be wary of what people tell you. And I hate to say this, there are some people who get off on giving you the wrong information when you start work. Oh, he likes to be called Chubby. His name's Derek, but we call him Chubby. This is a real thing. This is from when I was a kid and I was in my first job at GSI. They introduced me to a guy and said he liked to be called Chubby. And I was like, okay. And the guy's taking me around and he's showing me his facility and I'm meeting people and I go, well, thanks, Chub. Thanks, Chubby. I appreciate it, Chubby. He's like, dude, can I stop you right there? Why are you calling me Chubby? And I said, well, Mark Taylor over here told me that your name's Chubby. And he goes, son of a bitch. He goes, it's not my name. So this is my first day. So I'm already caught up, and him and this guy had issues, and now I'm in the middle. Some people, you have to take it with a grain of salt. When they're giving you information, check with a couple people before you start doing it. And I was a young kid. I was like, I figured, well, no, why would he lie to me? He's like, let me give you some hints on how to fit in. I didn't know he was pulling my chain and telling me bad stuff, thinking it would be funny. New guy on the job, doing that type of thing. So be careful of what you hear from people. Take it with a grain of salt. Check with your superior. Also, and this is a really important thing for your first day of the job, find out how the person that you report to likes to get information. Do they like to get a lot of emails? Do they like you to knock on their office door and come in and just say, hey, can I share something with you? Do they like to be told informal meetings? This is real important. Everybody likes to be communicated with a different way. I had one CEO I worked with that wanted everything in an email, and he wanted charts backed up, and he did not want anybody knocking on his door and asking him, hey, you got a minute? I had another CEO who was like, I don't have time for emails. Everybody's emailing me all the time. Just come in if you have a question. Just come in. I don't want to do emails, all this CYA junk. He had a real definite thing on it. If you sent him emails, you angered him. He got upset. He goes, don't send me this CYA crap. Just knock on my door and just tell me. Like I said, I had another CEO who knocked on his door and he's like, could you send me that in an email? Because I'd like to, be able to file that and categorize that and do my Franklin planner and all this good jazz that he was into. And I'm like, all right, cool, man. Find out what your boss likes in terms of communication. Find it out quick, because there's nothing worse than you just start and you get off the wrong foot. The other thing too is when you go to the building, try to find out, if you have a receptionist, become extremely good friends with the receptionist. Usually the receptionists know everything about the inner workings of the building and when you go to lunch and when you go to breaks and what's the dress code. So if your company's horrible at onboarding, usually you can ask the receptionist and he or she will probably tell you straight up, this is what happens. Try to ask people that have been there for a long time. There's nothing worse than asking somebody who's brand new and they're like, you know what, I've been here for a month and I don't know either. But your first day, overdress for the job, take a lot of notes. If the company's not giving you a lot of information on what's your job description and who do you report to, you're in the honeymoon period. Just go meet with your boss and say, hey, I'm just curious, can I get a job description? Or if there's not a written one, can you just kind of give me the 5 things that you want me to accomplish, this year? What are the 10 things you want me to accomplish? What are things that you don't want me working on? It's a big eye opener. Make sure you do those things. You have to take the initiative. If your company is not good at onboarding, it's going to be a rough go for you. You're going to say, you know what? The culture in that company didn't really work. It may not have been the culture. It's just the fact that some companies are just terrible at onboarding people, and you have to kind of take the steps to, make it a better process to onboard yourself. The first day of work, it stays with you for your whole career. When I do exit interviews, people always say, well, you know what? I knew this was a bad opportunity from the first day that I was here, and nobody told me who I reported to. I couldn't find the bathroom. I didn't know when I was supposed to go on break. I didn't have a sheet telling me who I called in payroll or who I called in accounting. I had no clue what I was doing. I had no business cards. I've had people go, and I'm talking from level of senior vice president down to hourly part-time worker, just shoot me the riot act. Mr. Rapley, when I got to this company, they didn't tell me this, they didn't tell me that. My first day, it was terrible, and it just stayed with that theme for the years that they were there. They all remembered their first day. Because I would ask them, how was your first day when you came here? How was orientation? It sucked. I go, why did it suck? He goes, no one told me who to call. My phone didn't work. I didn't know how to email. You couldn't figure it out. And they're like, no, because the phone's on the second floor. You don't have to dial 9 to get out. And the phone's on the third floor. You do have to dial 9 to get out. And he goes, how am I supposed to know that? Nobody told me that. I'd have to run down to the second floor to make phone calls. Your first day is an important day. Overdress, be extremely professional, don't gossip. Be wary of people that come up to you and want to be your friends too quick because they may be telling you stuff that's not true. Be friendly, be professional, but feel people out because you'll see over time if this person's real or maybe it's the person that wanted your job and they're helping you out of the company by giving you bad information. Make sure that you follow these, and I'm telling you, it's going to make your life at that company that much more happy. Let me know in the comments below if you've had issues with your first day of work. Share some stories about how it was when you first started with a particular company. What was the good and the bad and the indifferent? Again, hit like and subscribe. I hope you love the videos as much as I love doing them for you. Check out the other ones, and I'll talk to you real soon.